Hi everybody. I wanted to do a quick session about digital supply chain in relation to what we call integrated business planning. Integrated business planning is our planning suite which sits on top of our ERP, in this case S/4HANA or SAP ECC. When we look at what integrated business planning does, it really takes the everyday transactions to a new level and starts to add a lot of technology, thought and process behind actually what's going on, influencing that core to make it better. So for instance, if we look at what integrated business planning does for us, it takes our demand, whether that demand be consumption of parts for projects or assets, whether that demand be sales orders, it really doesn't matter. We can use it for multiple use cases here. We can then look at the inventory that's currently held in the core and optimize it to make it the best it can be. Now, what's interesting here is once we've got that optimized inventory, integrated business planning sends that information directly to the core ERP so it can transact on it and do it and actually transact in the best way possible. What it also allows us to do, of course, is to collaborate with our vendors. So if we know we have a projected inventory plan and we know how much we're going to be using in the future, we can share that with our vendors to allow them to actually secure that supply. And never has there been a time when that's been more important than right now, being able to secure that supply with our suppliers. Okay, so let's look at that in a slightly different way. If we think about that from a terminology point of view of we've got visibility. As a human being, we know what's going on. Our heart and our lungs is our core ERP, whether that be ECC or S4. The core is always there. Your heart and lungs are always here. They're doing their job. If you run up a flight of stairs, your heart beats faster. You need more oxygen. It knows what to do. So it's intelligently running the body. What IBP does, though, is it's the brain and the foresight helping the body run better. So for instance, do I go up the flight of stairs or do I take the elevator? Which is the best decision to make? So what IBP does is it allows us to influence how well the body actually runs. And what that basically allows me to do is to describe what's going on. I can see more through analytics and intelligence in the system, machine learning, etc. I can then predict what's going on with all our algorithms and everything else that's in there. And then, of course, I can prescribe what to do next. So that planning and that forethought and that intelligence that's coming from the brain, obviously, if we look at that from a system point of view, that drives the core to make those better decisions and move that forward. So let's go and take a quick look at what that actually looks like. Okay. So here we have a dashboard in integrated business planning that has run inventory optimization. It's done a supply plan. All of this is part of the supply and planning inventory inside IBP. So it's taking the data from the core. It's using its intelligence to work out what is the recommended safety stock, what is the financial plan going forwards, because remember, integrated business planning is integrated, so it brings together the finances as well as the stock and everything else, influencing how MRP runs and how everything's happening in the core. So in this case, we can see, what's driving our safety stock volumes. What is making these projections go high. I can see where my supply is potentially at risk or where my projections are high. I can see where I've got some forecast error for my demand plan, so I might want to look at some of those because the demand plan is clearly not doing well in certain areas, so on and so forth. So I can see, what is going to be my target. Now, if I want to look at that in a slightly different way, of course, with integrated business planning, one of the great things is we can use Excel as a front end to it, like a skin, if you will. And what that allows me to do is to look at data directly from the cloud from this Excel view, which is lovely. It's not actually Excel, so please don't think this is Excel. It is Excel, but I'm just using it as a skin to be able to change numbers and mess around them. What this allows me to do is compare scenarios against things much easier. So I can compare that. What would happen if I ran extra shifts to get rid of my supply problem and things like that? But from an inventory and from a procurement point of view, we have this concept of inventory projection. Based on what we know, how much am I going to need moving forwards? So how much inventory am I going to need in the future? And if I want to, I can actually run scenarios against this to see, what would happen if we had an uplift of sales in certain cases, or if I did many projects, what inventory am I actually going to need moving forward? Now this is brilliant because what it allows us to do is to get that inventory projection and then find out exactly how much I'm going to need. And one of the good things about that is I can then actually share that with my either co-packers or actual suppliers, so my vendors. So what I can do is take a look at how much stock am I going to need in the future, and then share that across the network with my suppliers. They can check it out. Can they actually do what I'm asking them to do? And then they can commit that back to me to say, yes, we know how much you need by different areas. We can now commit this amount to you. Therefore, we've got it available to you, which is great. What that allows me to do then is make sure that I've got enough stock available and I'm securing the supply chain. Now, obviously, we don't want to go into everything piecemeal, item by item. So one of the great things that IBP does for us is it uses intelligent visibility to allow us to see exactly what's going on and provide alerts to me. So what this is doing, of course, is it's looking at all my stock, it's looking at all my my plants and everything else, my projected inventory versus what I've got on hand versus what I've got coming in, a bit like MRP does, but with a lot more intelligence behind it. And it can alert me to where I've got situations happening that need to be addressed. So here I can see I've got a couple of alerts. I can look at them as an overview if I want to, by severity and things like that, or I can look at them in my map view, and I can see here I've got a few alerts around the globe. So what I can do, of course, is I can drill into that and actually see what's going on. So here in Berlin, I've got a couple of issues by the look of it. So I might want to go and take a look at that, show the details behind it, and what it will do is it will show me there, what is the error in terms of what's actually happening, why has it alerted me to it. It's in this case obviously someone's scrapping a lot of stock, so it's driving our inventory out against what we thought it should be. So those alerts are real handy for us because I can easily see exactly what's going on. I'm letting the system do the work rather than me having to do the legwork of running reports and seeing exactly what's going on. Let's take a look at another one here. So in this case, I've got a manufacturing plant. It's another scrapping issue, which is not very exciting, but you get the idea. Let me see if I can find a supply issue. Just want to show you. Okay, so I just changed my planning area, which means it gives me a different focus in terms of the alerts that I'm interested in. And I can see over here, I've got an alert in Asia. I can go into that and I can see in my co-pack plant, I have an issue. So I can go into this and actually see what that issue is. And here it's going to tell me I don't have enough stock available for my co-packing plant. And again, I can drill into that and see exactly what's going on. Why don't I have enough stock? Okay, I can clearly see it's dropping down. My supply projected stock is falling off. So it allows me to see exactly what's going on in the solution from a high level without having to pull lots of reports and things like that. So just to kind of recap, we look at our solutions in terms of obviously our execution layer at the bottom. So MRP is doing its thing. We can see what's going on in the warehouse. We can collaborate through the business network with our partners and everything else. But IBP is that brain at the top telling us what to do. Where are our decisions? Where are our alerts? What do we need to do better? So obviously from a procurement point of view, I can see exactly what's going on in my world. I can see exactly how much stock is going to be required in the future, and that allows me to run better sourcing events, run better negotiations with our suppliers and everything else in those important areas. So IBP is the brain, the core is the heart and the lungs, making better decisions so we don't have to get out of breath running upstairs. We can take the escalator instead. Thank you very much for listening. Hope that was helpful.